Testing 1, 2, 3. I hope this is on. Hello, hello. Dungeon Alchemist is currently 20% off. So I figured bonus stream. Found out about the sale this morning and figured why not celebrate with a little stream, hang out, and let other people know about it. We can kind of run like a little AMA style stream, showcase maps, hang out for a little bit, answer questions for anyone who may be considering purchasing a copy on sale. So welcome one and all. I hope you're doing well. Trying to get my chat feeds pulled up. One of them crashed right as the stream went live. Give me just... Depending on which platform you're on, should be getting your feed right now, no problem. So, Twitch, we're good. Fresh TikTok, because it is not working. TikTok is now good. Steam, I read you loud and clear. Let's see here. Hey Stratus, it's going good. Welcome back. I was informed this morning that we were on sale for the next week because of the Belgian Game Awards. Because last year we were a nominee. And all the nominees and winners are on sale this year, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so we we have a 20% off sale starting today. It's a really good deal. Depending on where you're at, that's like a really, really good deal. And obviously, I know you already have a copy, you know, but just more or less just hyped about the sale. You know, if you have any friends, family, you know, that are interested in getting into DMing, maybe let them know about it. How are you doing today? This map is just so impressive. I found this on the Steam Workshop the other day, and I've just been in love with it. It's got that like Walking Dead kind of vibe, or maybe a kind of dystopian nightmare fuel kind of feel. I just like that there's a lot of assets from the Steam Workshop, making it feel really unique. You know, my wife actually loves Sims, so I totally get that. Totally understand that. And DA is definitely a lot like Sims, just without all the stress of keeping things alive. I'm more quiet than usual. Let me check and see if my mic is problematic really quick. Sometimes it switches over, or it turns the volume down. My mic is at a normal volume. Let me turn it up here in Streamlabs just a little bit, and then I'll pull it in a little bit closer too, just in case it was getting like a bad angle. I do have a bit of a sore throat because I streamed already today, so this is my second stream today. If you believe it. I streamed on Discord earlier for a couple of hours, and during that stream is when I was alerted to the sale. So I was like, you know what, I'll do a little bonus stream later today to showcase, you know, what's possible and answer questions. Are you working on anything cool this week, Stratus? Painting tokens, nice. You gotta share some images of your tokens. And you know, DA Community Creations or whatever. Love to see it. Oh, they're on there? Cool. Are they newer tokens? Potato Boy on TikTok asks, "What is this?" That's a very good question. First off, welcome to the stream. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. And Dungeon Alchemist is what you see in front of you. It's a map-making tool and an immersion tool that allows you to create settings for your tabletop games. So let's say you play games like D&D or Pathfinder or things like that. You could make a map and then export it as a print or a video. We also support a number of different virtual tabletops. So essentially, you have the ability to create and share maps and in a whole broad scope of environments and styles. We mainly cater to a fantasy aesthetic, kind of for those D&D kind of Pathfinder settings. But many in our community, as you can see, have taken advantage of the ability to import 3D models and share them on the Steam Workshop. So we have thousands of 3D models and many like extra above and beyond what's stock. And people have imported things that are modern, apocalyptic, sci-fi, cyberpunk, etc. Troutfoot, you're more than welcome to. But I do my best to answer questions on all platforms. So, thank you for asking, and welcome to the stream, Potato Boy. By the way, we have a free demo on Steam. So if you want to try it out, you can go to Steam and search Dungeon Alchemist, or you can check out the link in our profile, which also has a link to our Steam page. Basically, you can try the free demo, and we're on sale for 20% off right now. So it's a really, really good deal. Typically, Dungeon Alchemist is $45.99 if you are in the US at least. Depending on your region, the prices are different. By the way, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Sorry for the whole elevator pitch there. But there is thousands of maps that have been shared by our community on Steam Workshop. Over 9,800 exactly. To be more precise. I'm going to look and see if we can find something cool to look at. In fact, I've actually kind of been... Oh, Cronklore. Isn't it really cool seeing some of the new multi-level stuff? The devs are putting in a lot of love into these new features. Oh my gosh, y'all want to see a crazy map? It's an entire Faerun map, basically. Troutfoot, how you doing, by the way? Welcome back. For anyone wondering, we are live streaming, multi-streaming on many different platforms at the moment. So we are live on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Steam. So if any of you have any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, let me know and I'll do my best to address them. How's the fam? I guess they're okay. Why do you ask? You just genuinely want to know? Let's see here. Just trying to make sure this chat is working. Okay, this one was frozen over here. I was wondering what the heck was going on. Let me pull up a little multi-level teaser while we got the comment about that really quickly on TikTok. I'd love to show. Practicing with this new human suit. Oh, gotcha. So here's some teasers from the last few days that have been shared kind of on our social networking, but you might have missed it. So this is kind of showing how we're going to allow you to have multiple floors and be able to control and manipulate, this kind of have like balconies and stuff like that. It's actually really exciting to show how you can have different flooring all within the same space and see the floor below. Cat fur on my face. I was hugging my cat before I jumped on stream. So, let's, oh, I didn't notice that stopped playing. Let's put that on repeat. Keep showing stuff, but essentially, multi-level and the option to do, like, decking and, or, you know, like patios and stuff like that will be great. I could see this being very useful, you know, in castles, mansions, and also, you know, taverns. Like the typical kind of saloon-type tavern where there's kind of the upper level with rooms that can see down to the lower level. Through like a patio. Pretty nice little setup. I'm very excited to try it out and share it with the community when it becomes available. If anyone has any questions about this, let me know and I'll try to address it. Troutfoot, I saw you submitted a map to the Dam Challenge. Looked interesting. See here. Here's another teaser some of you may not have seen. Yeah, actually, we are compatible with Arkenforge. You can import as either a JPEG or like an MP4 or a WebM, and we also work with UVTT with them because they support the UVTT format. We actually have a close relationship with Dungeon Forge. Or Arkenforge, not Dungeon Forge. Sorry, I got my my stuff mixed up there. Arkenforge. Yes, the Arkenforge team are great. They're actually in our Discord. At least their community manager is. By the way, welcome to the stream, Zaya. How you doing? Is it Zaya the Runty? I just want to make sure I got that right. So as you can see in this teaser clip, we're actually going to have some... Dry Overman, I notice a top-down view. Can these be printed off? Yes, of course. That's the primary way to enjoy a Dungeon Alchemist map, is in a top-down export. In fact, our maps primarily export as top-down. So when you export your map in Dungeon Alchemist, this one's kind of too big for Foundry, but we'll just do it as an image. You have many different options. You can do color or grayscale, so that's printer friendly if you want to print in that instance. You can render it as an image or a video. You can even order a print through our partner Kraken Wargames. You can export for a number of different VTTs. Someone just asked about Arkenforge, which I believe they support Universal VTT, so it works with that right there. Yeah, basically, depending on how you're printing and how big the map is, it's rather straightforward. We also offer in the map setup, you can, if you're printing at home, you can actually print, like choose a pre-configured print size, so to match your home printer, and make maps to that exact size. I actually use the digital format a lot because then you can make maps of any size and then cut them down into smaller printer size shapes. So it's Zia. Okay, sorry for butchering that there. Dry Overman, did that answer your question there? Is it Dry Overman? Dry Overman? Dr. Loveman. Ah, there we go. Dr. Loveman. The L is all bunched up and look like an I. By the way, we're on sale for 20% off. And if you have any questions about print or export as digital, maybe you want to start doing a TV tabletop or a projector setup at home, whatever. That also works with Dungeon Alchemist. So it works with all systems for the most part. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Be glad to answer. By the way, Steam, I notice y'all are watching. If you have any questions, feel free to hit that chat icon so you can join in and ask away. We are on sale for the next 7 days, and we have a free demo. So if you want to try before you buy, see how DA runs on your computer, more than welcome to. But if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, anything like that, think of this stream as AMA format. I'm here to answer your questions and guide you and make sure you get all the assistance you need. So, Zia, the Runty. Sorry I butchered your name before. Do you use Arkenforge quite a bit for your games? Okay, let's load up a cool map. I'm gonna load up one of my maps. We also are compatible with Foundry, so that's a good thing too. So essentially here, this is a massive mine complex that I built. This one is a 60 by 60 map. You can see here. And I'll activate the grid so you can see that. By the way, the grid is fully customizable. You can change the color, you know, so if you want blue or gray or whatever. So essentially you can add a grid, whether you want square or hex is up to you. And then you can use that while you're building to kind of get an idea of space and size. You can also export with the grid for print or export without the grid if you want. When you export for a virtual tabletop, though, highly recommend exporting without the grid present. I just use it while I'm building and exploring to give an idea of size. Email, how you doing? Welcome back. You know what? Honestly, Troutfoot, I enjoyed your submission without getting too biased. The lighting on it's really cool. It's impressive. I don't like talking about people's submissions too much before the damn challenge day, but I will say this: you got a good entry. Let's see here. Rainmaker, can you show all the themes currently in the app, just like a list? Yeah. So when you're creating a new map, you have 12 different biomes to choose from, Rainmaker. Dark Parchment is like a traditional, just kind of a black slate background. Badlands is kind of a harsher desert with like mesas and kind of just think of like playa and sandstone and stuff like that. Caves is more of what you're seeing in front of you now. You could do mines, caves, tunnels, etc. Fey Plain, oh wait, I skipped one. Desert is a focus on like sand dunes, oasis, stuff of that nature. The Fey Plain is exactly what it sounds like, a whimsical environment with you know, huge mushrooms, massive, weird trees, and interesting lighting. Forest, pretty straightforward. You have different options for pine and also like kind of like maple type stuff. Grasslands is more like grass floating plains. Jungle environments. So, you know, think of swamps, think You know, think jungle environments pretty much. Skeletal Plains is like hellscape, and it'll be covered in bones, lava, really gross, grotesque kind of tryptophobic landscapes that would remind you of like the hells, essentially. Snow, very straightforward, is Winterland. Green screen is really cool because it allows you to essentially, you know, capture like still images or video of like animated assets or a map, maybe just a single frame of a map, and then you can cut out the background and use it as a stamp on other maps. I, for example, made a stamp of this drill, and I could put it anywhere on the map in Foundry. I do see the chat. Sorry, there's just like 7 chats to monitor, and I'm doing my best to monitor them all, and I don't really have a moderator here right now, so I apologize if I'm taking a moment to answer questions. Definitely not ignoring you, I just see it. Okay, Shockwaves 3000. Oh, actually, Stratus says, is it possible to filter the workshop by the author? Not through our browser, but through the Steam browser you can. So through the app or through like an internet browser where you're on Steam. Basically what you would want to do is if you find the creator, right? Let's say you want to look at this creator's maps, Dexter, right? You click Dexter, well, you click the name at the bottom and it'll sort, you know, all their stuff so you could see it all. Unfortunately, the workshop does not allow you to search by their username unless the user was smart and put their username in the description. So when you're uploading a map or an asset, make sure you put your username in there in the description somewhere. That way people can search for you. Okay, next. Shockwave says, when I print my maps, they have a white border. So when you export for print, so in print export mode, several things happen. The white is designed to be there for a reason. It's basically designed so you don't waste ink. And I understand how that can be counterproductive. 1 second here. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you set up your map? Did you use the print yourself section or did you use digital? I would like to know kind of the basics so we can kind of go from there. Like, assuming you are... Print yourself? Okay, cool. What size did you pick? American legal? Okay, cool. Straight up. That makes it easy for me to work with. I'm just going to hurry and generate one so I can see exactly what you're seeing. Because the print biome is a little bit different than all the others. So... when you set it for like 8.5 by 11, it'll trim it to be as close to the size as possible. And then when you're exporting, when you print export, it'll have a white border to save on ink, right? So essentially everything outside of that grid is white to help you save on ink. Now, if you change it from print to image only, it will instead have this black border. Alternatively, you can get rid of borders or expand borders with the border tool down here in the export menu. Do no borders, grid, small borders, normal borders. So if you play around with these before you export, you can get a few different options. I also highly recommend exporting at higher DPIs when you're printing, because that way you get the highest quality possible. So first and foremost, print mode is great, print export. But you could start in it, and then in the export menu, change to image only, and then have that little border or no border. Does that help at all, Shockwave? I do have to admit, though, printing gets a little complex, especially when you're printing yourself, because the thing is every printer is different, right? Every print software, and I'm sure, as many of you know, printers are just the most amazing, useful, always work pieces of hardware on the market, right? right? I'm being sarcastic because, yeah, they're usually awful. Most printers, like, they are horrible. They work for like a week and then stop working, or they barely ever connect. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is with printers, you always want to set, if you're printing at home, to like 1:1 or 100%. So it matches at a full size. It tries to get it as close as possible. Right, Stratus? I use high DPI. I typically do 4. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool, Shockwave. That's awesome. One thing I would recommend, too, is you could just do a bigger map, like a larger map, as digital, right? Say like a 40 by 40. So you would take that, generate it, right? Let me show you what I'm getting at with this. A lot of images, an image such as this, like a large map, you can take it and do what's called rasterization with it, and it's split it up into much smaller images. There's websites that split images up for free, and a lot of tools do it as well, like Adobe, I think it's Acrobat does it. But essentially, you could break this up into as many equal 8.5 by 11s as possible, and then print those, and they'll all be in sequence. So you could always work with a larger map and break it down if you choose so. Yeah. Yeah. This website that we recommend to a few people in our community, it's funny. I'm going to say it, and I'm just going to laugh a little bit, but it's called Rasterbator. And you can take the map, import it to it, and then break it up into, say, like 12 or 14 8.5 by 11s, and then print them in sequence. Yeah, see, I love the little maps, but the problem is stitching the little maps together is much harder than breaking up a big map into a perfectly stitched piece, right? You gotta admit, it's gonna be a lot easier the other way than stitching them together and trying to get them to align. Another cool thing about a big map in digital is a digital map can be reduced. Let me show you what I mean. So you can grab the corners of this map, which it tells you the size, 40 by 40, right? So I could just reduce this to a quadrant if I wanted to. So let's say I file save this map as forest master map, right? So it's the main map. Then I would take this and reduce it down to a 20 by 20. Close. There. So this is, one of the quadrants. This would actually be Q2 instead of Q1. File, save as, forest, quadrant 2. Control Z, go back to the each corner one at a time, because you can undo, redo, and then save them all as separate files. So that's a good way to work around it. Can I just say thank you for the follows and likes in the last 10 minutes? We got a couple subs over on YouTube. We had Mistborn and Jedediah Weller. And the ever mysterious Tim, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Much appreciated. Welcome. Welcome. You got me really curious, Tim. You're ruddy mysterious. It's your name, it does it. Thanks again for that follow. Let's go pull up a cool map instead of just a generated one. Now, granted, generating maps in DA is awesome. You can generate a series of biomes. Let's hurry and generate a Fey plane really quick so people can see it, because it takes a couple seconds to generate a biome. Maybe. Jeez, did I just crash DA? This never happens, I promise. What is my favorite biome? The caves. Cave biome is my favorite. It's where Oh, Lord Gasumba's great people. Yeah. Yeah, we've sponsored a couple of their, like events in the past and stuff with a couple of keys and whatnot. Appreciate him. I'm glad you came over. So this here is the Fey plane. It is very neat and very whimsical. I love going into the Fey plane and changing the time of day to night, maybe adding a little bit of color, because it really pops once you do that. I don't know, it just excels. So Tim, do you play in person? Do you play online? And if you play online or in person, do you use a virtual tabletop or do you print? Are you doing theater of the mind? Maybe a combination of the few? But yeah, Stratus, my favorite biome is definitely the caves. I don't know. I like the dwarf aesthetic, I guess. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. It's so simple to just quickly make a map feel so different by changing the color. Love it. We don't normally stream at this time, but we just happened to be on sale today, so I wanted to essentially be live and provide guidance and answer questions and support for anyone who has them. I know right now on Steam we've got a lot of people watching, and if any of you have any questions, feel free to open up the chat and jump on in. No pressure, of course, but if you do have any questions, I'm the person to ask. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, so I know quite a bit about the product. I have over 2,500 hours making maps and have, opened and examined and, looked over thousands of community member maps. So I have a pretty good grasp on the product, and I can answer your questions inside and out. So you use Fantasy Grounds, Tim? Nice, nice. And we do offer direct compatibility with Fantasy Grounds, both animated and standard still maps. Got that Fantasy Grounds Unity export menu. You've got image or video with WebM VP8. That's the only video format they currently support. Nice. I guess that's about, pretty much the same with everyone, Troutfoot. The more you talk, the less mysterious you are because people know more about you, right? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Sorry for quizzing you. I just like getting to know people in the stream and understanding their game a little bit. At any time, if you want to just sit there and not answer, you're more than welcome to. Funny. Guard your mystery, sir. Take back your power, mysterious Tim. I don't know, sometimes winter maps can really have a mood, too. Doesn't that look so nice? Your hands is...
Filthy hobbitses! Trixie, he tricked us!
No. That's all you have to say about that. some circles, they love my Smeagol voice. Some. Not many. William Lewis, thank you for the sub as well. Much appreciated. Map is large, so it's going to take a moment to load. Yep, quite large. Usually when it says this, I just click wait and wait. Because more often than not, the map will load. It's just Windows thinks it's not going to. It's just a big boy map. It is quite large. Wow. That is cool. Holy cow. Okay, let's go zip over here and see how big it is. 194 by 148. That is... That's big. Why it took so long. This is really cool. It's a big desert map. It's a big, huge kind of, I guess, a sprawling kind of city area near, I'm assuming, it says Grand Oasis, right? So that makes sense. Let's see if we can get a description. Warning, huge map. That's all it has. Well, I was hoping for a description. So our next update is coming along. We're kind of in the alpha stages of our next update, but one of the big things we're working on is multi-level, multiple floors, and how to properly address that and approach it for export to multiple different, services, VTTs. And usually we take the KISS approach, the keep it simple, stupid approach. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean each layer will likely just export as like its own map, its own image. And that way they can be separate scenes on your VTT of choice. This clip is actually really impressive because it shows the floor underneath from the upper floor. You can kind of get an idea of what it might be like to do, say, decking or like a banister, a railing type situation. Very excited to see what this becomes. This is definitely going to be in our next update, so if you're interested in this feature, just kind of stay tuned until our next update launches. I will say this, it is possible to do multi-level right now, but it's done by hand, not with the assistance of any like speed tools like this. Take a look at another teaser. As you can see here, you could see the ceilings, which I think is a big deal. This is, one of the first ceilings that we've seen so far in DA, actually, like an official one. Random zero, right? No! My wallet! Honestly, it's a really good deal, even when it's not on sale. I know I'm a bit biased as the community manager, right? But hear me out. Hear us out. Hear us out. Hear us out. Hear us out. The thing about it is, even at full price, it's a lifetime license, right? On the sale price, still a lifetime license. You get access to all past updates and all future updates until we've delivered on all our stretch goals from our Kickstarter. At which point we will be considered, full release and have left early access. We still will deliver, patches, quality of life improvements, feature improvements for free after that. So you have like a long time of like updates and support. And it's a lifetime license. No monthly fees, no bait and switch for something later. You know what I mean? It will always be Dungeon Alchemist. Anyway, now with the 20% sale, it's an even better deal. It's just a great deal. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the sale. When the devs told me about it today, they were both surprised. They were just like, hey, we are on sale all of a sudden. We weren't expecting this. I'm sorry for the short notice. And so I wasn't even expecting it, or I would have kind of like made a video and like an announcement and stuff, but kind of playing catch up. Let's set this to night. Little night desert action here. Ooh, that looks so good. I just gotta say, Steam, I know you're there, you're watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to open the chat up and let me know. I'm here for you if you need any guidance or need any assistance. Just a reminder, we're on sale for 20% off right now, and we'll be on sale through the 23rd, and that's to celebrate the Belgian Game Awards. We were nominated last year as one of the, in one of the categories, and we now are, just kind of further celebrating that nomination from last year. This map is brilliant, beautiful work on this. The big map. So just kind of warning, but it looks like the best thing about it is that every single room is kind of slightly different and decorated in its own way. There's like a lot going on. Stratus DM says, I'm super happy with supporting this. I looked far and wide on all the options for several weeks. I tried everyone that had a demo and watched several hours of YouTube videos on all comparable tools. DA was the winner, hands down. DA was the winner, hands down for me. Appreciate the kind words and the love, Stratus. May I ask, what was your runner-up, your second choice? That's beautiful. Little tent setup home here. This biome is really just a mood. You know what I mean? I really want to run a desert campaign, because I feel like survival is more prevalent in a desert campaign. What's y'all's thoughts on desert campaigns? Tailspire is a good one, man. They really are a good one. You don't like sand? It's coarse. It gets everywhere. Okay, Anakin. Tailspire is great. I think, from what I understand, it's full 3D. You can play your games right in it, so they offer a little bit more functionality in that regard, but I think at the same time, yeah, it is a little bit harder to master and fast. It takes a little bit longer to build maps. I think DA is just a little bit quicker, designed to kind of have that easy to jump into, but also can scale with growth. So you can, learn more of the advanced tools and features as you grow. I grew up playing Dark Sun PC games, so Desert always is super nostalgic for me. Oh, right? Dark Sun was a ton of fun back in the day. I work for a Linux distribution. You know that we don't have Windows here. Oh my goodness, Stratus. Linux support is pretty big. I mean, a lot of people don't even realize we have Linux support, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it is a niche audience, but I think having it is smart. It's a good idea. So this map I made some time ago, and it's called the Snemple. And I've just kind of freehand drew a massive behemoth shell of like a long dead snail, like a giant snail. And when it died, it actually turned the whole region into a desert. It was in a massive forest when it passed, but like all the like blah from it, after it died, made it basically like a necrotic wasteland for a few generations and then a desert. But now, essentially, it is this large cavern in the middle of a desert, and it served as refuge to some wanderers, like a group of travelers. And now, generations later, it has a whole bunch of backstory to it, like lots. But now it serves as kind of a religious site, a temple, and people will travel for thousands of miles for like a pilgrimage to pay homage to their ancestors' journey and their like survival here. But and it's ran by an elusive order of monks called the Order of the Helix. I have like a whole bunch of backstory for it. It's a horrible freehand shell. We now have tracing, so I could probably just do a trace of a snail shell and be beautiful. But it is what it is. Alrighty, let's open us up another map. Let's check this one out. It's pretty dope. The Immortal Market. So, we have this ongoing map making contest on our streams called the Dam Challenge. When you save a map in Dungeon Alchemist, it's saved as a .dam file. That is our proprietary map format. It stands for Dungeon Alchemist Map. We lean into that a little bit. We have dam streams, dam challenges, etc. So the Dam Challenge, ongoing map making contest, it's every 2 weeks. The current Dam Challenge is Ghost Town. So if you're interested in participating, you'd make a map of any shape or size using Ghost Town as your inspiration. You'd submit it to our Discord. There's some rules pinned in the channel where you submit it. It's the Dam Challenge channel, to make that easy, right? And pinned at the top are rules that you need to follow to have your submission qualify. If you enter and you do qualify, you have a chance to be the winner of a small prize. We give out a $10 Hero Forge gift card. And the winner's map is the first map featured on the Dam Challenge stream and is also featured promptly in our weekly newsletter called Cartomancer Chronicles. So we feature them every other week and give them some kind of, at least some props, and people get to recognize their work, and they essentially get to flex their map maker muscle on the community. So with that in mind, this was a very beautiful entry from a theme we had a couple times ago. It was called Shopping Day. So but the entrant Hieronymo made this map, and it's called the Immortal Market. And as you can see, it's got that endless kind of infinity sign here. And then it's set in this kind of ghost town area where it's foggy and elusive. But the Immortal Market just goes in loops, and there's little shops all the way around, which I felt this was a very unique and interesting entry. Really? Well, I'm glad to hear it, Stratus. It's a beautiful map. It really is. Hieronymo makes some of the craziest maps that you'll find in our Steam workshop. For sure. He is a very talented cartographer, has a unique eye for it, and always has these kind of fun new concepts when he's building. Just something to strive towards, right? But this map could be perfect as sort of like maybe that your players have been invited to a very exclusive market, but they don't know where it is, and they know it's through a portal, and when they get there, there's definitely something off about it, and they have to figure out how to get out. I don't know. That's just a basic idea for suggestion there. I'll give it time, Stratus. I'm sure you'll refine your skills. The one thing about any skill is it takes practice, and you need to work out the muscle in order to get better, right? Hieronymo's got 2 years on you, so I wouldn't take it personal. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Have you made anything yet, or are you still kind of in the learning phases? I would love to see your first 3D model when you make one. As long as it's family friendly, of course. And I wouldn't say you're dumping time. You are investing time in Blender. Right? You made a covered well? Nice. Is it on the workshop or? Oh, okay. Well, got that answer right away. So, for those that aren't aware, we offer Steam Workshop integration. You can browse the Steam Workshop right from within Dungeon Alchemist, or you can browse it through Steam or through a browser, web browser, whatever's your preferred option. But our users can share, our community can share maps and 3D models to expand and offer more functionality to our community. Essentially, there's 9,800 maps. We're rapidly approaching 10,000 maps that have been shared. Mostly from the fantasy aesthetic, but as you can see, there's some that are, getting into, apocalyptic, cyberpunk, sci-fi. There's all sorts of different stuff that's now capable because we offer Steam Workshop integration for 3D models as well. So our community can craft and share 3D models or source models that have like a Creative Commons license, and then they'll import them and share them on the Steam Workshop. There are assets that breach into many different aesthetics, not just fantasy. So you can see here's some computers. So you can do some sci-fi. Here's a tank. So there's a dumpster. There's all sorts of different things to really bridge the gap into different themes and aesthetics, where we may not ever bridge into, at least in the interim or near future. We plan to focus on delivering on all our stretch goals and finishing our Kickstarter before we start bridging into other themes like sci-fi and cyberpunk. Oh, nice. Hey, Stratus, that would probably be best in community creations or community assets, either or. But that's really cool. That's beautiful. That is fantastic. I see that. That is wonderful. Seriously. Looks like it's coming along. Can't wait till you get it all painted up. And that's your first try at making something? Oh, that's fantastic. Would you mind if I shared it with the stream? Not at all? Okay. Y'all got to see this. So, Stratus, we were talking about him trying out and spending some time learning 3D modeling just recently. And now he has spent some time learning Blender, and this is what he's already done. This is amazing. Hopefully we'll see this on the workshop sooner than later. Can't wait. It's fantastic, my friend. And I am proud of you for stepping out of your comfort zone and trying something new. Before you know it, you'll be a very prolific creator sharing tons of 3D models. But this is clearly a well, right? You got this lovely little, well base and the cover for it for some shade. I think it's beautiful. You did a great job. Hey, YouTube, are any of you, is your chat coming through? Would you mind typing something for me real quick? I'm going to refresh the chat here in a minute if I don't see any YouTube chats coming through. You 3D printed it? Oh, send me a picture. What 3D printer did you use? Did you say you have a Creality? I feel like you told me that, but I can't. I vaguely remember that, but it might have been someone else. You do? Nice. Sorry, 3D printing is like a big passion of mine, and I've been 3D printing for like a decade now. But I also talk to a lot of different people about it, and I forget what I talk to about with who sometimes. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for helping with the test. We do, in fact, have YouTube coming through right now, so thank you. This is great work, though, my friend. Fantastic job. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry, I just kind of was looking at a message that just came through on the side, and I just wanted to make sure I was reading it correctly. Kind of back to this point, though. Lots of different options for 3D models that branch far outside of the fantasy aesthetic. There's sci-fi, there's cyberpunk, there's modern, there's apocalyptic, there's definitely digging into stuff that I would definitely see as somewhat not copyright safe for sure. But each of these creators are sharing at their own risk, and they know that Steam could come after them if they get a copyright notice. Cartographer, how you doing, my friend? Welcome back. What you been up to? How's life? How's the streams? Like I haven't caught you as of late. Been a lot of dadding. Gotcha. Yeah, dadding is priority number uno. I get it. Another great thing to do with Dungeon Alchemist is make landing pages. So this is kind of a unexpected thing that we never saw our community doing, but they ended up started doing it and it kind of took off as a trend. But landing pages are a very fun way to kind of create a setting for your players. Where is the landing page? There it is. So, if you're not familiar with what a landing page is, it's essentially a launch screen, a loading screen for your campaign. If you are playing on like a TV tabletop or projector tabletop or through a virtual tabletop online, this is very easy to set up and it's very fun and immersive. So in this instance, you could, grab a screenshot or like a loop video of this instance for the players. Oh wow, that's cool. You can see the ship in the background. Gotta get just the right height. But something like this could be the loading screen for your campaign. I've seen people make very intricate ones and then set up interactables in there for their players. So if they click on different things on the screen, it ends up triggering like a new scene or something special for them. One of the DMs I know actually hid inspiration and items in their landing page, and players never found it. But landing pages can be simple, like long rest camp scenes, or really intricate designs that showcase much more. Hope you're well, cartographer. Sometimes they're called landing screens too, so I'm going to try that. Yeah, there's a few different ones. Oh, I typed landing wrong. I'm like, why am I not getting any? There we go. Lots more. This one's brilliant. Let me show you. It's starting to get late for everyone on the East Coast, I can tell, because chat's getting quiet. And I know we probably don't have anyone from Europe watching right now. If we did, I'd be surprised. They're like a night owl if they are, right? So you could do something like this, right? And you could capture, say, a 15 to 30 seconds, set it on a loop or a screenshot, and just set this as a backdrop for your campaign on the loading screen, the main page of your virtual tabletop. So it has, like a world map, maybe their like base or the most recent place they went to, images of the players and little items that they might reference things that have happened in the campaign. Here they actually did very high scaling. They forced everything to a larger. So this is a very big table and a big wall, and everything's kind of made larger to help. Sassy Molassy, welcome back. Glad to have you. Shoot, it's got to be heckin' late where you are. Probably 2, 3 a.m., right? At least. Troutfoot, you okay, bud? Oh, goodness. I'm gonna grab a drink really quick. Alrighty. 1:30 a.m., a little bit late, but still wide awake. Ah, I feel that. There's been a lot of construction by my house lately, and there's been all these work trucks driving by, and they work late at night when it's coolest, because usually the Vegas Valley is pretty hot, right? And because of this, it's just like loud construction beeping, trucks driving by all hours of the night. And I know it'll be done soon, so it's like whatever. I'm not mad or anything. It's life. But it is, you know, it does get to you sometimes when you're tired, you know what I mean? So lately I've been not sleeping well. Just kind of up to like 2, 3 in the morning or later. Or I'll sleep like an hour and wake up, because there's just so many like construction vehicles driving nearby. This is lovely. What's really striking in this map is there's a lot of verticality. You have buildings, you know, up on hills and lower terraces, a main road, but then sweeping kind of back roads to other areas. And, you know, that's not a common thing to see in Dungeon Alchemist. Most people kind of build on like a similar plane. This is very clean, though. Looks nice. Ooh, lovely little orchard over here. Kind of nestled in on the hill. Something like this could just be a little pit stop town on a journey for some players. Somewhere they have to stop by and maybe drop in and grab supplies as they venture through a vast region. Or there could be a small little side quest for them to pick up here, or even something that brought them here. Yeah, it's a nice clean style. The creator of this map, Aloe Vera, was a very prolific creator in our community for a long time and was very active in Discord and kind of dropped off the map. They still share maps pretty often, you know, like this here and there once in a while. But I just think they're not as active online as much anymore, which I can totally respect. Sometimes when you're removing internet, it's best to remove all of it, right? Oh, very cozy. Let's get up to this top level here so you can see in top down. I mean, this would be a beautiful little village. This looks like something out of like Lotro or, you know, WoW or Zelda. Looks very clean. The players, you know, could come in from a desert region and this is the first town they see in a long time. Something like that. Right? There's a lot going on in this map, but it's beautiful. Distinct architecture, lots of verticality, little details that help it stand out and feel real and alive. For sure. Little pond back here. My only complaint with the map, and I mean, this could be a spring, and so there is current, but it just seems like a weird place for a water wheel right here, because it doesn't feel like there would be much current in like a finger, like a river or something. I don't know. I'm weird about little things like that, though. They may not have even noticed there was a water wheel on this asset. Nice, though, for sure. Like, if there was a waterfall here or something, then there would be current. That makes sense. Water wheel, right? Waterfall here makes sense. This could be, like, the end of it, kind of a pooled area. I don't know. It's weird. You gotta, like, I look at it and I'm confused. That's all. It also looks like the current's flowing this way, which is going into like this bay area. That doesn't make much sense. Not here to critique people's maps, though. I just kind of notice little things like that sometimes. No. We're gonna put it over here. Gwendolyn, thank you for making me feel like I'm not crazy. I do like, I think as DMs, we're kind of, and I say this a lot, and I hope I don't mean any offense by it, we're kind of cursed to be detail-oriented. And that's in a good way. That's part of the reason we're DMs in the first place, is we notice a lot of little details and minutia, and we kind of have an eye for it. So it bleeds into a lot of the things we do in our campaign creation, whether it's crafting our story, producing our gameplay session, making a map, making the perfect NPC or a loot table. I think a lot of DMs are very passionate about what they do. And we are a little bit cursed to be detail-oriented, so something that should maybe only take 10 minutes to make, for me, takes hours, because I spend all this time doing little things that probably no one will care about or notice. At the end of the day, my players will probably blast through that area, but honestly, I don't mind. It's cathartic for me to spend time on maps. One of the maps I made for a session, unfortunately, had to be separated into a few smaller ones. Unfortunately, Owlbear didn't support a larger format. Really was a shame. So how did you split it up? Did you know you can actually shrink maps inside of Dungeon Alchemist? You also can cut them up in post using something like a rasterizer. We actually discussed this earlier, but I'll dive into it a little bit more. Sassy, if you'd like to learn. Would you like to know more? So this map, 65 by 60, not really a perfectly divisible map, but let's just assume it was, right? So you would, if you wanted 2 maps, it would be 30 by 30, right? Or if you wanted 4 maps, it'd be 15 by 15 as quarters, right? So you can actually grab the corners of your map and shrink it to, corners into quadrants. In this case, I'm just going to shrink it into a smaller portion. Actually, I believe it would be 30 by 30, right? In this case, the half, roughly the half. I'm just saying 30 by 30 because I didn't actually set the map up right to be like a perfectly divisible situation. So you just reduce it. So this takes a moment. DA has to re-render this environment down to the smaller map. Then go to File, Save As, right? You have your main map. Go to File, Save As. This is actually the corner 2, so you could just say, something like Belliard Village updated Q2 for quadrant 2, right? Save. And this map has all the lighting data. If it had rooms on it that were generated with the AI, it'll have all the walls and doors and windows. So that will export with it in a new JSON that's just for this corner. So are you using your maps you said on Owlbear, right? So you'd probably want to cut them up before you export instead of after, because you can use. Does Owlbear support UVTT? I can't remember. Also, Sassy Molassie, do you use any of the plugins or add-ons for Owlbear? Just like to know, do you happen to use Smoke Inspector by chance? So basically the big thing is make sure your main map, the big map that you want to cut up, is saved. Back it up as another save somewhere else, copy paste it, so that way you don't ever lose that main map, right? Next, open it up, reduce it, start saving as each new map. Once you've saved it as that new map, Then Control Z. Z as in xylophone. I don't know. That's actually X, right? Z is in zebra. It'll bring the map back to its full size. You can reduce it again. Right? So grab the corners here. There's these little chevron symbols. Depending on the color of your grid, that color may be different. So mine's green because my grid is green. If your grid's gray or blue, it'll be that color. Grab it again, reduce it. So if your map's like a perfect size, like 100 by 100 or 50 by 50, this will be really easy. If it's not, you know, like if you have like an even amount, it'll be easy, but otherwise it might be a little tricky to reduce it this way. You might have to do a little bit of math to just get something close, right? And every time I do this, this map is now different corners of the same map, right? So this is the top left corner. And I could just go File, Save As, Q1. You get the idea. So you do this, say, 4 times or 2 times or however many times you want to divide the map up and export each one of them as a separate map for Owlbear. Now, with Owlbear has plugins that are like add-ons that give it more functionality. You may want to look into them. Let me Google it really quick. So this one in particular is one I want you to check out, if you can. It's called Smoke and Spectre, and it actually allows you to do import R maps from a certain theme. If you export as Foundry maps, right? I believe it's Foundry. Then you can import that as a map into the using Smoke and Spectre. The reason it's nice to export as one of the main virtual tabletops, we don't actually have Owlbear listed as compatible because they don't have this as a stock feature. It's only through an extension. But basically, Foundry has a stock feature where we attach a data file to it called a JSON, and that's a text file. And it tells the map, the image of the map, where the walls are, where the doors are, the windows, all the lights and everything. And it allows your players to better interact with the environment. And it restricts them from areas where walls and things should be. If they're moving tokens around, it'll block them, right? So that plugin allows you a little bit more functionality. You can then use the Foundry exported maps within Owlbear. Owlbear we don't offer full functionality with. That's why you got to use some steps. You got to jump through some hoops. And unfortunately, unless they make the features in Smoke and Spectre as a stock thing, we likely won't ever support like a direct export for them, sadly, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's always good to be divisible by 2 when you plan on splitting your maps up. It's also great to be divisible by 2 if you want to make perfect circle buildings. Yeah, no worries, Sassy. I'm here to help. Hope that works. So let's say you wanted to make a perfectly round room, right, with our room tool. If the room is divisible by 2, i.e. 6 by 6, 8 by 8, 12 by 12, then you can cut it into a circular shape that's a perfect circle. That makes sense? But if it's, say, an odd number, say 7 by 7, you can't split a square in half in D&D, right? Or in most tabletop games, you can't. So essentially, you can't do that in DA either. So you have to have a divisible number to get a perfect shape like that that's symmetrical. But yeah, if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm here to make it easier for you to make your maps. Owlbear is a great tool, especially because it's free, right? I mean, that's the main thing about it, right? It's a free tool. It's awesome. It's web-based. If you're looking for a virtual tabletop that you don't have to put an initial investment into, it's a great tool. The Owlbear community is really, really supportive of each other. Their community manager is great. The only downside of Owlbear is they don't have like native wall window lighting support through like a text file that we can integrate with. So until they do that, you have to use a third-party plugin, some workarounds to make your maps more direct. That's all. Glad that helped you out too, cartographer. Man, this sewer is dope. I really love me a good sewer system that looks like they just kind of built it into an existing channel where water ran through. Maybe they built the city above like a system of caves, and now they take advantage of it for a sewer system. This just looks like it was cobbled together, and I love it. One thing I really like to do with like a sewer, kind of give it that kind of green, kind of gross underground aesthetic, or a dark aesthetic, so it just feels more natural. I'd share the link with you, cartographer, but I can't here on Twitch. It's called Smoke Inspector. If you want, you can DM me on Discord really quick, and I'll hurry and send it to you. The link. Let's see if I can. I got you, man. Check that out. Yep, there you go. The original developer of this so a lot of times it'll be like someone will start making a plugin, and then other people will start volunteering, and maybe the original creator loses interest. But the original creator of the like DA map integration, before it became Smoke Inspector, was reached out to me and let me know about their stuff, and then that plugin got integrated into with a whole bunch of other tools in Smoke Inspector. Pretty cool. But Owlbear is a great tool. I encourage anyone to check it out if you're looking for a virtual tabletop that just, doesn't have an initial cost. Several of my friends use it with reasonable success. They like it a lot. I actually have a sewer map that I shared some time ago. Much more structured sewer, but I enjoy it nonetheless. More like a catacombs, I guess. So Steam, I'm seeing we have like 100+ people watching right now. I'm curious, are any of you monitoring chat, or and I don't mean to call you out. I'm sorry if that's how it seems. I want you to know that if you have any questions throughout the stream, concerns, feedback, suggestions, if you open the chat, there's a little chat icon below the video feed. You can join in and ask questions, or you could pop over to our Twitch or other streams and ask there if it's easier for you. But I do know, because of the sale right now with Dungeon Alchemist, I'm sure a lot of you have questions related to that, and want to understand what you're looking at, or how to use Dungeon Alchemist, what it works with, etc. So if you have any concerns, questions, feedback, suggestions, think of the stream as like an AMA format. As long as it's related to Dungeon Alchemist, I'll do my best to guide you and provide assistance. I made this, 2 years ago. Been a while since I made this. Beautiful map, though. I use these little, like, kind of bone walls to kind of give that catacomb feel. Then there's some areas where there's, like, gated off areas where there might be tombs and stuff. This gate was kind of mangled and there's spiders inside. All right. Oh man, that takes me back. I haven't thought about Dark Alliance in so long. Holy cow. Man, that's like OG Baldur's Gate console stuff, huh? Some of those older console TTRPG games really hold a special place in my heart. Did anyone ever play Dungeon Siege? Zero. That's funny, right? No one's gonna care for your smell after you get back from the sewers, but I mean, they always want you to go clear the sewers out. Dungeon Siege, the original Dungeon Siege in particular, is like, oh man, that stuff holds this very special place in my childhood. It was kind of my first, games like that were some of my first forays into, you know, tabletop gaming spaces. Diablo, and then, yeah, some Baldur's Gate. I kind of dipped into games like BG1, BG2, and Neverwinter Nights because of games like Dungeon Siege and Dark Alliance on the console. It was just, I wanted to play more of them and got a PC just to play. Oh man, Icewind Dale's pretty good. You know, I ended up getting a free copy of it some time ago. So like Amazon Prime does free games all the time, right? And they do them through, like every month you get a bunch of free games, some through GOG, some through Epic, some are through another company called Legacy, some of them are through Xbox and Windows. And they also have their own game front now, like kind of like they're trying to make their own Steam competitor, Amazon is. But they do lots of retro games. Like I have all the old Baldur's Gate games, and I have all the old Monkey Island games and like a bunch of old, cool, like interesting intrigue games. Champions of Norath. Oh man, I feel like I do remember playing that. I feel like my cousin had it. This is a lovely little slums. I mean, you know, for a slums, it's not bad. For a slum. But if you have Amazon Prime, I highly recommend searching out the Prime gaming benefits because you can get like 5-10 free games a month. And I ended up getting like Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Planescape, Torment, Icewind Dale, like all of those. Look, this is like just a fraction of the game. These are only just the Amazon ones I've gotten for free, not the other providers. Some of these are like, I've never even heard of them. Others are great old, like, classics. Stubbs the Zombie, Monkey Islands, Like tons of Monkey Islands. Republic Commando, Jedi Knight Academy 1 and 2. Oh my goodness. Just some good games, you know what I mean? Fatal Fury, Metal Slug. There's my OG Baldur's Gate. You get the idea. They do have like a decent catalog of games. Especially some retro titles. And indie titles. I think this month they have a good loadout of games, actually. Yeah, right now, BioShock Remastered is free. Doom Eternal, Ghostbusters, Spirits Unleashed, Ecto Edition, Tomb Raider, Legend, just to name a few that are free right now. Borderlands was free like a couple weeks ago. It might still be, so was Kerbal. You should check it pretty regularly. We are self-published. Self-published. Briganti is our own company. Yep, we are. This is the legit official Dungeon Alchemist account. By the way, welcome, Zep. How you doing? My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. I think part of the reason we were able to do that, though, is because we had such a successful Kickstarter. Our community support has been phenomenal, and I think, you know, we were definitely right place, right time. Putting out something no one had ever really done at the time. And it was just pre-pandemic, right before everyone was, like, wanting to be playing a lot of tabletop games and most interested in that stuff. So we really kind of got in right at the right time, I feel like. There was a lot of things that just, like, all lined up to make it, like, a really successful Kickstarter, and has continued to be successful since then. But Zep, these streams are AMA, so if you have any questions related to Dungeon Alchemist, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer your questions or concerns. By the way, Dungeon Alchemist is on sale for 20% off right now. Sale started this morning, and it's on sale through the 23rd. And we have a free demo now available on Steam, so if you want to try before you buy, see how it runs, you can do that as well. This here is a teaser from our upcoming update titled Fun with Objects. And we're going to be adding multi-floor. I mean, you can do multi-floor right now, but it's all done by hand. You have to do everything meticulously. But this would be supported by our room creation system, which has procedural generation. So you can generate entire rooms, fill them with objects and the floors above them really quickly. This is not available yet, for simple setup, but it will be available when our next update launches. Who knows, Zep, it might get you back into hosting D&D. Honestly, it's kind of what got me into DMing in the first place. No pressure, though. Yeah, I do all my secondary, multiple floors by hand as well, and it can get tricky for sure. But the new update's going to make it super duper easy. Takes a lot of planning and foresight to do multi-floor by hand, right? You basically have to know a bunch of tricks. And, you got to line up the floors below and above to make sure they actually make sense with each other. When the next update launches, that'll be like a thing of the past. It'll be so straightforward and easy. At this point, we're kind of hoping for a launch window of Q1 2025. So somewhere, in the first 4 months of 2025 is the likelihood. We have direct compatibility with Foundry. Our maps export and work directly with Foundry. So when you export a Dungeon Alchemist map, you have an export menu. Foundry is in one of our drop-down options, and you can export either as a still or a video animated map. And our maps for Foundry export with lighting, windows, walls, doors, etc. for line of sight data. So it includes a JSON file that you can import with the map that includes all of that data automatically, saving you a tremendous amount of time. So you can actually generate entire environments and rooms and stuff in just a few clicks. And then export that to Foundry in like 3 steps. Alternatively, you can source maps from our Steam Workshop repository of over 9,800 maps that have been shared by our community. And many of those maps, you can just grab, make a couple subtle changes for your own needs, export for Foundry, good to go. But we offer exports, direct exports, for several systems. Foundry, Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and Above VTT. We also have support for the Universal VTT format, or UVTT, which works with dozens of platforms. Arkenforge, Encounter Plus, Above VTT, just to name a few. So not only do we offer, exports for virtual tabletops, we also offer digital file exports. Maybe you play in person with a TV tabletop or a projector. We offer support for that. Maybe you play online through like Discord and you don't want to use a VTT. Yet again, we offer JPEG, MP4, WebM files. And then lastly, we offer exports for print. So you can print your maps yourself, take the digital file to a print shop, or export and print through our partner Kraken Wargames, who makes massive neoprene game mats that are waterproof, scratch resistant, spill resistant, and they last a lifetime. We have over 6,000 stock assets that primarily are fantasy aesthetic. I'll be honest with you, our primary focus is fantasy with a little bit of like steampunk, early Western in there as well. At least until we leave early access. Our next 5 major updates will be all part of our early access release. And then after that, we have plans to offer optional expansion packs that dip into other aesthetics. So like cyberpunk or sci-fi, etc. But currently there's over 6,500 stock assets. There's 12 environmental biomes. Dozens and dozens of room types you can generate on command, and they use our proprietary procedural generation engine to fill in the rooms and populate them with objects based on the style and theme. Or you can build everything by hand like I like to do. I prefer that method just because you have a lot more control. Pairing that with Steam Workshop integration and our asset importer, though, you can import custom 3D files as long as they're an STL, FBX, or GLTF/GLB file, which means numerous 3D files can be imported, including animated, full color, or just simple, flat gray. You can import them through the asset importer and keep them as local assets for your personal collection, or you can share them on Steam Workshop. There's over 6,000 assets shared. We added Steam Workshop integration for 3D models later than maps, so that's why there's less. But there's more and more every day, and they breach into all sorts of themes and aesthetics such as cyberpunk, sci-fi, Fallout, anime, regional, etc. So it allows you to dip into other themes. And I will point out that none of these assets or maps are ever used in our procedural generation or the training of it. So you cannot generate a map with user created assets. So you will have to add them manually. Yeah, so first off, there are tons of ships on the Steam Workshop you can grab and use for pirate settings, and tons of different assets that work for it. So these can kind of fill in some blanks. As you can see, there's sci-fi, there's airships, there's regular, just traditional ships. Additionally, okay, you can import custom models, and we have a few ships available. Just to show you, actually, people have made some crazy ships using just the stock assets, because you can kind of manipulate and do whatever you want with the assets to a degree. You can resize them, move them up and down, put things on top of them. So people will make massive ships using just like a rowboat that they oversized. So we have a few boats, and then in the future, we have 2 updates planned for water-based content. One of them is called High Seas, which will focus on shipbuilding and open ocean islands, maybe the astral planes, etc. And the other one is called Water Worlds, which will focus on water effects, waterfalls, things like that, rain and the like, so we have more integration with those types of things. So we have 2 updates that will increase our stock assets in that regard, but then we also have the integration for importing custom models or using the ones that are on the workshop. A great example of which, this ceiling is not a stock asset. My wife made that, and I imported it and used it custom for this build. So this is a 4-story Wizard's Tower. I call it the Wizard's Respite. This tower is built in the middle of a dense forest in the middle of nowhere. The wizard comes here to get away and to train and to practice and to build his various inventions and concoct potions and the like. But this is a fully navigable 4-story tower that I built entirely by hand. And the roof is custom. This is an observatory on the top level. So I wanted an opening kind of where they have a deck and a telescope poking out. So just to give you an idea, you can take this token and put it inside here. This is the top floor with the observatory. We have some current there from the there's like a wire going up to the roof. Oops, I fell. And that is kind of like a Frankenstein type setup where they can gather power from the weather vane when it gets struck and then use that to charge these batteries and then in turn rotate and move the large telescope. Down here is a bedroom, bathroom area. Some of these assets are from the workshop, like this floor piece I got on the workshop. But like this stair is a stock one. The walls, stock. Rubber ducky, workshop. It's kind of hit and miss, you know what I mean? But I like mix and matching to kind of get a certain feel I'm going for. This dog actually is my dog. That's Seymour. He comes on the stream sometimes. My wife made this 3D model as well. So this is the wizard's room and gear and, wardrobe and treasure hoard. Go down another floor. We have a study / laboratory where they, have all their books that they can, look over and reference and make their potions and whatnot. And then the bottom floor is a sort of hearth kitchen area with the entrance to the exit outside there. And there is a hatch going under to a secret escape area. Tunnel. So how this would work in Foundry is I made this very cleverly, actually. I made it so it can be pulled apart and saved as different levels. So I did this in a clever order of operations. I planned ahead, right? Let me show you. So I have the master map, which is Wizard Tower Sewer Escape. Let me show you the little sewer hatch on the side here. Right? There's a little hole there. That's the exit. So I can pull off the roof, right? I could just delete the roof, technically. That's the top floor. So I could file, save as, and export this as a separate floor. Floor 4, right? So I could have one that's just the master with the roof. Save as floor 4. I could pull floor 4 off. Watch this. Everything on the 4th floor, except for this balcony, which is exterior. I didn't want the exterior to be missing, right? Is on this wood platform inside, so I can grab it and pull it as a single piece. This took some forethought and, kind of cleverness to make sure I did this. I can delete that entire floor, and guess what? Here I am on floor 3. File, save as, export floor 3. Do the same with floor 3, go down to floor 2. So on and so forth. When all's said and done, I could have all of these saved as separate scenes in Foundry, right? What you would really want to do is essentially have floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and floor 4 all be separate scenes. You could potentially even do a rooftop option when they're outside. And when they walk into floor 1, it peels back, or if they're in the top floor, it peels back. By doing a foreground and a background layer, but that requires a little bit of photo editing. You would export the master scene, and then you would have to edit out all the background, the ground information around the tower, and make it a transparent PNG, so it could be the top ceiling above everything. Our next update, though, will support multi-level and exporting with multi-level. So just to give you an example, like this is a multi-floor build in our alpha build. There is patios, decks, roofing of different shapes and sizes, gargoyles, huge windows that are multi-floor windows, smaller windows, buttresses, all of these things in tandem, and it's a navigable space inside, right? So with that in mind, we're hoping to allow you to export each level as its own layer, kind of like how Photoshop or video editing, you have layers, right? And the layers are atop of each other, but you can hide that layer or export just that layer, right? So the goal is to allow you to export each layer separately, and we're hoping to increase or introduce a mass export option with this update, so you can export every layer simultaneously. Saving you a bunch of time. So right now, multi-level is done by hand. It's kind of a niche thing. Exporting, you got to be tricky in how you do it if you're playing on a VTT. But when the new update comes out, it'll be, easy. New update is likely launching Q1 2025. So, first 4 months of next year, most likely. One of our devs is kind of hoping for February, but anything could happen between now and then. Like, our last update had a 4-month delay because we found a major bug, a limitation in the build of Unity we were using, and we actually had to migrate to a newer version, an updated version of Unity, before we could roll out the update. So it's set us back quite a bit. Sometimes things are unforeseen that you run into that you just don't plan for, and that was one of those things. Oh, I love it when they notice the little details I put into the maps, for sure. Let me show you a couple of tools that'll be launching in our next update. So the next update is titled Fun with Objects, and as you can imagine, it allows you to get more functionality with objects and how you interact with them and place them in the map. Right? So one of the tools is the modular object tool that we're going to be integrating. We already offer tracks and pipes and a few different things that snap together relatively easy. But you still have to go grab the track, drag it, grab and drag, grab and drag. This will allow you to quickly just click the direction or the style of piece fitting and jump between those, so you don't need to spend a ton of time dragging and fitting to the track. It will be a big time saver. This will work with pipes. This will work with track. I'm hoping this will work with some of the structural wall fittings to make like city walls and barricades and stuff. So it'll be very easy and quick to do so. Another feature that's launching in the next update. So we already have the object brush, but this is an improvement to that tool that allows you to make your own object brushes. So currently, an object brush allows you to say, like, you wanted to paint a bunch of broken stones or trees. You could paint a bunch of them onto your map really quickly, saving you a bunch of time. That tool is located under Objects, paint objects. So let's say I wanted to add some more trees to this map. I could just paint a few in like that and it's done, right? You could do that on any map, but the problem is you have to use the pre-configured brushes we've set up. That's great and all, but the problem is we haven't made brushes for every object in Dungeon Alchemist, right? You have to wait until we make the brush. The next update will get rid of that problem. You can pick any object, whether it's something you downloaded from the workshop or a stock object, and then say create brush from selected object. Then you can use any of the brush tools and advanced brush options to paint that object as a custom brush set. It's a big, big time saver. This will be included in the next update as well. I would like to point out this little indicator here on the side with the 0 and the arrow. That's a big part of the UI for moving between floors in the next update. And you can click the arrow up to go up floors and down to go down floors. I believe the plus and minus key are the actual like hardware shortcuts for it to go up and down. And I'm hoping that we can type in that number field and just type a floor and jump to it. Oh, of course. Hey, Mind's Eye, welcome. Welcome to the stream. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. If you have any questions, concerns, feedback, feel free to let me know. These streams are hosted AMA format, which means ask me anything, as long as it's Dungeon Alchemist related, of course. And I totally understand where you're at. A lot of people kind of scope us out, especially in the streams or on our Discord or our socials and YouTube, to kind of get a feel for the product, our community, see what we're all about. I will let you know, we do have... Oh my goodness, I totally messed up my camera just now. We have a free demo on Steam, right? So if you want to kind of try it out, you're more than welcome to download the demo on Steam and give it a try. Keep in mind, it's only a small slice of the pie. It's one biome of 12, one room type out of like 70, 80 room types, and a handful of assets out of 6,000. But it does give you an idea of how well it'll run on your system before, you decide to pull the trigger on it, if you haven't yet. The other thing is, if you do already have a copy, I just want to say thank you for your long-term support, and I appreciate you very much. Welcome, welcome. And like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. So Dungeon Alchemist is primarily a map-making tool, but it's also an immersion tool in a few different ways. We offer the cinematic camera, which is like a drone camera, and then we also have the first-person camera where you can walk around as a token, like a first-person view, and that is another great way to interact with your maps. These tools allow you to get screenshots and video at different angles instead of just top-down. Maybe like a neat first-person perspective of the view of the property you're looking at. It's always nice sometimes, actually. I really like getting down close to the ground and getting like sky shots like these. Where you see the moon. Where is the moon? Is it over there? Where is it? There it is. So something like, like this, where you see the moon in the background. It just makes for like a really powerful shot. Maybe even a little bit higher off the ground, like you're in first-person mode. These are great for handouts. They're great for theater of the mind scenes. You can even make like landing pages, long rest scenes, flyovers for familiars. Because I've heard of players that have familiars they use to scout everything out all the time. So you could just take the camera and, fly over this really quickly and then give that to the player as a quick clip so they kind of have some recon of the area. Now, that is more integration than just map making. You also have the option to place tokens and walk around. There's a grid. I will say we are starting to lean into VTT territory a little bit, but our focus is map making until we leave early access. Our devs have stated, though, that once we leave early access, there's a lot of different things on the table, things that weren't necessarily promised or, promised on during our Kickstarter campaign. One of our devs, our lead dev, have said that, VTT Lite features are something they've considered and would like to consider in the future. Stuff like, primitive dice rolling, maybe the ability to do fog of war, stuff like that. So it would enhance playing in person on like a TV tabletop or projector tabletop. I do not know if we'd offer multiplayer, like online support at all, if we bridge into that, because that's a whole other ballgame altogether, and it's something we've never really promised. But yes, it is totally something that they're considering. Okay, so Zep at it's all right. The biggest question I've got for you: would you say using Dungeon Alchemist saves you a good amount of time that normally got spent creating maps? So, me personally, I use Dungeon Alchemist to unwind, and I make maps to kind of waste time. It's a cathartic thing for me, so I personally don't save much time because I dink around making maps. But I do know a good chunk of our community, and you can ask the people in chat here if they save time using Dungeon Alchemist to make maps. The primary design behind Dungeon Alchemist is time saving. We have this saying we say in our group chats at work is maps in a snap. Because at the end of the day, that's what Dungeon Alchemist is about. Well, I'm going to select, 40 by 40. I'm going to select a jungle. I'm going to add a river to the jungle. Let's actually make that a lava flow. And then I'm going to generate this jungle. Maybe 20 seconds to generate a 40 by 40 map. If I want to throw a building or two on it, a few structures, some ruins, takes me a couple of minutes. The amount of time saving, if you want to just whip out a quick map with Dungeon Alchemist, is undeniable. Pair that with the maps on the Steam Workshop. There's nearly 10,000 of them. So you could easily find a map that'll work for your needs in that repository and just download it and get to work with that. So it's a huge time saver on that alone. But it does offer the option to grow into it and make the most detailed and intricate maps you've ever seen. So I say it's the best of both worlds. Okay, sorry, let's see here. What did I miss here? So this is just a fun hangout stream. Dungeon Alchemist happens to be on sale. So I'm just hanging out, Swifty, answering questions, providing guidance to anyone. We're 20% off right now for the next week. It started today. I was only alerted to it this morning, so I just figured I'd do a little bonus stream and hang out. I'm just basically doing like a, I guess you could call it like one of those like, what are they on TV where it's like not necessarily an ad, but it's like an infomercial, right? Tiny, classified ads. I'm doing good, Swifty, though. How are you? Mind's Eye, we do offer custom asset imports and Steam Workshop integration for it. So you can import 3D models as long as they're STL, FBX, GLTF/GLB files. We support painted, full color models, just flat gray models, and animated models. Just to give you an idea, I've imported a couple myself. This roof here is one that my wife made and I imported. That was on that tower in the last build. There's integration for this with Steam Workshop, so our users can share their models with the community. There's over 6,000 3D models available on top of the 6,500 stock models. So you basically double your collection with the Steam Workshop integration. And those bridge into many different aesthetics, not just fantasy. Mind's Eye, I hope that answers your question there. I'm going back to the map here. Might take a second. Okay, did I miss any other questions here? Making a small map tour videos has been a great tool. My players can see things they may have missed from above. True. This thing about tabletop gaming, right? We give these crazy godlike abilities to our players. They can fly, they can leap buildings with a single bound. They're basically Superman or gods for all intents and purposes. At a certain level, they are basically demigods, right? But we never let them see through their own eyes in a first-person perspective. They're essentially always in a top-down or in some kind of like theater of the mind setting, right? Even when we make these beautiful top-down maps, right? You want to see them at that eye level, and putting a token in, clicking on the icon, the eyeball icon there, you can walk around the map in first person, maybe do a little tour. You could stream this to your players over Discord, Zoom, Skype, whatever your poison is. You could also just record this and send it to your players as like a handout that goes with the scene, or even take screenshots. So you can use this tool for immersion in lots of different ways, but my favorite is following along where the players are in top-down in first person. I played at a couple of tables where the DM will just walk and follow along where the players are in the top-down map, and then we can say, hey, can you take a closer look at that rock formation over there? Or if we're in a building, hey, could you look in that desk and see if can we investigate it, get a closer look on the contents on top of it and inside of it? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they'll look on top, and they'll have this DM I played with had chests set up, and they said anything inside was lootable. It's so fun to interact that way. I do think it is kind of an acquired taste, and it takes a little bit of know-how. But the thing is like using Foundry, your players tend to probably, if you're using like a virtual tabletop and your players are in a top-down VTT environment, they more likely explore the environment freely unless they're blocked off, right? Like there's a door they need to unlock or a challenge they need to get over or through or something. So the DM is free to follow along wherever they're at, and not necessarily do it in real time, maybe update it every 20 or 30 seconds. When they go into a new room, follow into that new room. When they ask to check, oh, can you look behind those trees over there? What is that plant? Oh, this is a really rare plant, and you can actually harvest this and use it to make a healing potion. Something like that, right? It's just a fun way to interact with the environment and allow your players to see through their own eyes for once, for sure. That's fair, Sean. I mean, that is a big time saver, because more often than not, you will never see below, in those shelves or below them when you export in a top down, right? So to many, that is a big time waste. It's a time sink to do that. But some will take screenshots to have associated handouts for each of those buildings, So like, for instance, one map I have that I've shared, it's called Seymour's Crossing, right? And in Seymour's Crossing, I have a summer and a winter map. But there is a little potion shop, right? And that potion shop, it's completely pointless the way I decked it out, unless I have an associated handout, like a screenshot or video for it, just to make it more immersive. So if my players go in, I would give them a handout for that building so they can see all the extra stuff and have more immersion. That's all. Completely optional. By the way, if any of you have any questions or concerns, feel free to let me know. I do love to address your concerns as the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. That is my job. I'm here to support you as a community, guide you, and make sure that all your concerns and questions are addressed. Hey, see you later, Mind's Eye. Thank you for being here. Every time you generate a jungle with a lava river, it'll be different. Like, they might be slightly reminiscent of each other, but for the most part, they will always be different. I'll show you. So we built a procedural generation. It's like a very limited last-gen AI. And it generates the environments using like a bunch of prerequisites we placed into it. After I show you this stuff in this map, we'll take a look. But this building here, and by the way, our AI was created entirely in-house, and by that I mean no public data or maps or art or anything was scraped to train our AI. It was developed in-house by our own dev team, and all the art and assets used in it was made by our own art team. So we have a very ethical approach to AI, not to mention it's last gen, and it's not really anything like ChatGPT or anything like that. But never will we use Steam Workshop maps or assets to integrate with the AI in Dungeon Alchemist. So as you can see here, I placed a token so you can look around in first person, but like the shops are decked out, tons of stuff in here. It's really unnecessary, but for me, it's just fun. I enjoy it. This is fun for me. I enjoy games like Sims where you can do these things and really deck it out. My name is Mac. It's nice to meet you, Zep. Completely unnecessary to have all that down there. But for me, it's just fun, and you could walk around in first person, take some screenshots, give that to your players like associated handout material if they end up going in that building. Oops, fell through the staircase there. No. Okay, so let's open up a new biome here. We're gonna make a new map. We'll do jungle just to prove kind of the thought there. Let's do it with a river this time. And you have different growth options. So you could set elevation options flat, flooded mountains, flood plains, tons of different options in the drop downs, right? You have different growth options, no vegetation or dense growth. You have different river options, no water, island, lake, lakeside, etc. So heck, let's do a lakeside here with no weather, water level. Shlomo, welcome to the chat. And that is a great question. Shlomo BF asks, is there something I can access online or do I need to download it to my PC? It is a program that you would install on your computer and run locally. It is available through Steam, and we have a free demo if you want to try it out and see how it runs. Dungeon Alchemist is a little bit too intense for web-based only. But here we just generated a lakeside environment. Pretty original, unique, right? I could actually go in here if I didn't like this and I could shift it up and just keep regenerating it. I don't know, Shlomo. I've seen people work with 10, 15-year-old computers. I run DA on several computers. One's brand new and the other one is like 8 years old. So depending on your PC specs, you should be able to run it. Now that being said, we do have kind of a minimum requirements that we recommend that are shown on our Steam page. Yeah, definitely try the demo, see how it runs on your machine. And just a heads up to anyone out there, we are on sale right now for 20% off if the huge logo behind my head wasn't evidence enough. But I could just keep hitting change terrain and keep regenerating, and almost every time it's going to be different. It may look slightly similar because there's only so many variations of a lake you can put next to this, right? Well, Zep, I am glad I've convinced you to join the Dam fam, or the Dam Nation as I like to call it. Welcome, welcome. And I appreciate you asking all those questions and getting to understand the product and learning it, you know. And keep in mind, these streams that I actually host several throughout the week that are normal. Every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Saturday we stream. And you can come in during those streams and get support, ask questions, or you could pop into our Discord and get questions, ask questions and get support there too. In fact, let me just drop a Discord link in Twitch for everyone there. So as you could see, every time I've generated, it's been different. Here, let me put in some different stuff to kind of mix it up. Let's do floodplains, and we'll do a river. Actually, let's do flooded. I like flooded floodplains. One thing, Shlomo, too, is you could always stick with smaller maps if your computer's older, right? You don't necessarily have to make a huge map. The larger the map is, the more lighting and shaders and, you know, effects and assets you're loading in real time. Does that make sense? So if you keep the map small, you might be able to take advantage of, you know, all sorts of different shapes and size. But if all you did, Zep, was use Dungeon Alchemist to generate environments just using the procedural generation, it's a huge time saver. And, you know, obviously you have the workshop maps integration there. Dude, Zep, if you do, I'd love to check it out. If you stream, or if, you know, if you share your content anywhere, if you host and do videos after on YouTube, I love supporting our community members that use our map maker, of course. So Dungeon Alchemist can do a variety of different biomes and environments. You can do dungeons, you can do sewers, you can do cities, towns, everything in between, just rural environments. Towns and cities are a little bit more challenging, and in your case, with your computer being a little bit more older, you may not want to approach like large cities, but you could probably do like smaller little rural towns and villages with relative ease. You haven't really told me your specs, though, so I'm just kind of basing it on what you've said. But yeah, you can do, like, a whole city. Hold on, let me search town or city, see what we got. So there's people who will just make, like, little cities, like these little comfy towns, you know? Others will do huge, massive cities that are like a forced perspective of an entire city. But little towns, little villages, easy to do. Big cities will take a little bit more work. The workshop is a great resource because you can check out other people's work and save yourself a ton of time. Get inspiration or just download a map and use it. There's a particular city I'm looking for that I want to share with y'all, and it is just something else. This is one of my favorite maps on the workshop, called the Port City with Castle. And in this map, they used a combination of assets from the workshop that they scaled to make them seem smaller, right? So it would make the town seem much larger. Forced perspective is a brilliant tool. i7, 4 cores. Do you have a GPU by chance? No? Okay. So you just got the Mobo. Is it a laptop or is it a desktop? I mean, what's the worst that can happen if you try the demo and see how it runs? Probably just stick at like a 25 by 25 or less. And pro tip, keep your map zoomed in. The more you're zoomed in, the less you have to render. You don't want to be so zoomed in you're like looking at the like like through a microscope at something. But just keep in mind that if you're way zoomed out, you're rendering the entire environment, right? But if you're way zoomed in and working on little areas at a time, then your computer only has to render that. Yeah, no worries, Shlomo. I hope you can run it on your system. I've got my fingers crossed for you. Seriously. And just keep in mind, we are on sale for 20% off right now, so if it does run, it's a great time to snatch it up. I would love to see your work, Sassy. Please do. So here we have this massive castle, you know, with like drawbridges and bridge systems and sewers, like on this massive rock. There's a cemetery, like a beautiful temple, like tons of homes that likely are not, you know, something your players can enter, but it adds to the environment, right? But if you look at this, like the grid, these are tiny buildings, technically. These are all 5-foot squares, so it's not really that big of a building at the end of the day. But if you know, force perspective it and zoom out, it ends up being a huge city with a port that could be thousands of people living there. You know what I mean? I like looking at it from this view because it really shows the scale. Sassy Molassy, if you do decide to upload any maps, when you do publish your map, pro tip for you, first and foremost, make sure you get a good screenshot. If you click on the thumbnail, you can go in and get a good shot of your map and get a good perspective of it that really shows off its good side, right? Make sure the map title has spaces, no hyphens, no, you know, words that are put together like a file name, because the title is a searchable text, and if the words are mashed together or have like a hyphen or an underscore, they can't be searched in the Steam search. So make sure you separate all the words in the title. My amazing map, right? Next, set your visibility. If you want others to see it, you want to set it to public. If it's set to private or friends, private is you only, friends is only your friends, public, everyone can see it. Lastly, description. Again, that is also a search terms. They're all like meta search terms. So the more information you have in your description, the better it is, including if you put your username in it. That way people can search for your maps by your name, which unfortunately you cannot sort by name very easily in the Steam Workshop. So give it a good description, mention all the things going on in it, you know, maybe a breakdown of what's going on, etc. Then hit publish. Good to go. Excuse me. Got hiccups. I see some lurkers we got here, and I don't normally like calling out lurkers, but I just gotta say welcome to one particular lurker. Low Dame, I see you out there, and I just gotta say I've been seeing some of your 3D models you've been putting up recently for 3D Canvas. It's impressive. Good work. Good work on that. Sorry to call you out. I know you're lurking privately, but I just gotta give props where props are due. Some knuckles. And, you know, if you wouldn't mind patting yourself on the back for me. It really is game-changing. It's a fantastic tool. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, I work for them. You were asking about ships earlier, right, Zep? Here's a nice little airship that was shared on the workshop. I don't know if you're doing any airships at all in your campaign. And then here is a docks district with, you know, a couple of docked, you know, ships ready to go. There's all sorts of maps set up for that exact purpose. Oh man, let me see if I can find... I'll just type ship and see what we can find in the map browser. Because there are some really clever buildings. This one's another great one. This is multiple levels of the same ship on one map. So it's like the below decks, the captain's quarters, you know, all that different stuff. And it's actually a flying ship, an airship. But it doesn't have to be. You could just ignore the top area and just make it like a regular ship. Hey, Zep, thank you for that follow, by the way. Your name, it reminds me of, like, my all-time favorite... I know this is silly and random, sorry for the random lore dump. But, there's this cleaner called Zep, and oh my gosh, that stuff is, like, next-level cleaning. It is, like, the best cleaning solution I've ever used. It can clean any toilet, any sink, any tub, like it's nothing. It is the best. Like, I've used a lot of cleaners in my life, and Zep just is... Holy cow. But at the same time, when I use it, I gotta wear a respirator, like a mask, because it is so, like, toxic smelling, it'll knock you out if you don't have good ventilation and a respirator, I swear. Oh my goodness. So, props to you for being a really efficient home cleaner. Zep, for what it's worth. This map here, airship. So we have the top area. These are literally snowballs that they repurposed into like a big air bladder. We've got a windmill on the back here. Can turn that on to like the big, you know. Isn't that great? Got an upper decking. Then you got the top deck here with some ballistas, a mortar, some cannons. Looks like the captains and different areas there. Yep, there is a wheel that lets you pick time of day, and you can expand the little hamburger, the advanced options, and you can change where the sun is in the sky, change the brightness, intensity, time of day, so you could set it to like high noon or whatever. And then lastly, there's light filters, so you could quickly add, like, change the aesthetic of a map like that. Couple clicks. everything in DA is designed to be quick, easy, simple, straightforward. You can actually put overlays on your map, so you could add like little map elements or borders, right? You could put labels. Another very important tool is you can actually trace maps. So you could import a map that you found online or from a book or maybe Donjon Dungeon Generator and then trace it in Dungeon Alchemist. Just to give you an example, has anyone in here used Donjon Dungeon Generator? So this website here, you can generate all sorts of random stuff. Towns, loot tables, worlds, but they have a dungeon generator as well. And a lot of people like Donjon because of its simplicity, but for several reasons. When you generate a map with Donjon, it actually can include like information and encounters and loot tables for each room that it generates. Very simple, basic layout, simple shapes with numbers on each room, right? So I'm just going to do like a square layout. I'm going to set it as tiny because to them, tiny is actually quite large. We could do small, whatever, tiny. And then I'm going to set up a scattered layout, room size, small, whatever. You could pick and choose. We could do medium. Polymorph rooms means they'll have different shaped rooms. So they might have like a round one or something like that. You know what I mean? Seems like ever since I went to rectangle, there's no different shapes. Okay, next, you can essentially construct this whole thing, right? It'll construct the dungeon, and down below, it tells informations. So this dungeon was created by dwarves as a treasure vault. It became cursed by the gods and has been conquered and altered many times since then. So it gives you basic information about the dungeon, the corridors, each room, what's in each room, what it is, you know what I mean? But this information right here, it tells you the size of the map when you generate it, 35 by 45. Alternatively, if you go down to the bottom here and just download the map, you could download the map and all this information, but just the map itself if you want just the image. Let's see here. Desktop, Donjon. I'm going to save it. So now I've got this new map that I just saved that's 35 by 45, right? Now I could go into DA. If I wanted to, I could match it 1-to-1, 35 by 45, because I actually worked carefully with Donjon to make sure our dimensions match perfectly, okay? So I'm going to set it as caves because it's a dungeon. Why not? I didn't generate any caves with the AI. I just went solid rock so I could sculpt it out myself. I'll get you a link, Shlomo, really quick. You can find the demo right on our store page on Steam. If you scroll down a little bit, it's just a few, like 1 or 2 scrolls down. It'll say early access game, and right below that it says download Dungeon Alchemist demo. Sorry, this is really meta. I'm streaming. You can see me streaming right now on Steam, and then you scroll down. By the way, Steam, show chat. Click show chat so we can talk. I see 80 of you there. Say something. Hello. In fact, you know what? The next person on Steam that says something, I am going to give them a free key of Dungeon Alchemist. And then you go down and it says Dungeon Alchemist demo right there. So any of you could pop into chat and say something and get this free key. Anyone watching can do this. The next person to pop into Steam, open up the stream and say hello. We'll get a key. Core Hall Sagen over on YouTube. No one said anything yet. Oh, Darth Vader just did. Okay, Darth Vader, I'm going to have to DM you your key. here in just a minute. Give me just a moment, okay? Hey, look at all these people popping in. Okay, so congrats to Darth Vader. But, okay, Core Hall says, new viewer here, I'm a DM and use FGU. Is it easy to take maps made in Dungeon Alchemy and import them to FGU? Yes. Only takes a couple clicks, in fact. Darth Vader, I've got you open up on a tab here, okay? So I can message you after. Sound good? In fact, here, let me see if I can look you up and just message you it right now through my Steam. Here, I'm just adding you as a friend, Darth Vader. Go ahead and accept it. We'll unfriend after if it's weird for you. I'm just trying to keep it easy so I can message you right away, okay? Sorry, I just did a giveaway. I want to make sure that person's all set up before we focus on teaching you how to export for Fantasy Grounds. So, when you use Dungeon Alchemist, okay, you have an export menu. And there is numerous export options built right in, okay? Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, and above VTT are some big names that you might recognize. We have exports that work flawlessly with them. So for Fantasy Grounds, which is your particular question, we offer image exports and WebM video exports, so you can do still or animated maps. Of course, it has to work within the, the size, file size, and resolution limits that Fantasy Grounds has. The maps will export with a image file or a video file, and then it includes an XML data file that you import that acts as the information for the map. Lighting, windows, doors, walls, line of sight information will all be imported into Fantasy Grounds automatically with that XML file. So, getting back to the map at hand here, I generated this map to do a trace, and I kind of messed it up. I thought I set it as solid rock, but I guess it was not. So we'll regenerate this, okay? Well, Creative Cauldron Studio, welcome to the stream. If you have any questions, the stream is AMA format, so feel free to ask and let us know, okay? So I've got this map here, right? I'm going to turn on the grid, which we can see. And I'm going to open up the tracing layer, which we were discussing just a moment ago. Put on a tracing level. And I downloaded that map from Don John just a moment ago. Let me grab it. Don John Maps. It was, I believe it was 35 by 45. This one right here, right? Or was it this one? Yeah, it's this one. The Warren of Gruesome Evil. Those 35 by 45. So I opened this up, and guess what? It lines up perfectly with our grid at 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1. So if you made the Dungeon Alchemist twice the size, then it would be 10-foot hallways in this dungeon. So essentially, now I've got a tracing layer that I can go in and use the Dungeon Alchemist room tool to quickly make a dungeon. So I'm going to, let's put a dissection room there. I'm going to put a small laboratory here. Actually, you know what? Let's make this big room the laboratory, and then I'll make that smaller room a library. I'm going to just redraw over those spaces here. Watch what happens if I go in and kind of have this tracing layer. You could see those rooms starting to fill in those spaces lined up pretty clean. And as I do more and more, it'll look better. So what I'm going to do is go into the castle here, and they have a hallway option. I'm going to start filling in some of these halls. Right? Generating some of those little slips of hallways, little spaces in between rooms, little doorways there, right? Oops. Dead end hallway. So you get the idea. I start generating and filling in blanks here. That's a staircase, so I guess I could have just generated that as a whole piece. Let's put some other rooms in here. What should we put in here? I'm thinking a little storage room to the side. Now, this is looking weird with the tracing layer on it. I can go in and click on it and make it transparent, a little bit easier to see through, right? And go back into my map and get in close. I can even adjust the terrain. One thing I love to do is raise the terrain back up after I carve it out around a wall. So it's like these nice little tight cavern rooms that have been carved into the rock. And let me just hide that trace overlay to give you an idea of what I've just done. So I'm just going to make it completely transparent. So here's just a few rooms that I quickly mapped out and put together. They do need a few more connections, but this, I could trace out that entire dungeon in probably 20 minutes. Wouldn't take any time at all. By the way, these streams are AMA format, so if any of you have questions, it's Ask Me Anything. Ask me anything related to Dungeon Alchemist, and I will do my best to answer your concerns and address them. Darth, did you accept that friend request? Really quickly, I just gotta make sure. I see you. So now I know if I want to get Steam viewers talking, I just got to offer keys, right? Give me 1 second. I'm going to generate you a key. Darth Vader on Steam. Stand by, my friend. Just generating you a code. This whole process I gotta do. There you go. You should be able to redeem that right away. You're on the Cook Islands? That's so cool. Alright, and again, I apologize for having to friend you and do that. If you want, you can unfriend me right away. I will not have hurt feelings over it, okay? Congratulations. Troutfoot, come on, man. Come on. Are you more like Trollfoot? I get this vibe about you, that's your style. You really like to kind of just throw caution to the wind. And you'll maybe say something once every 10 minutes, and it's really just meant to confuse and sow a little bit of chaos. I'm all here for it. I don't mind. See, I've been streaming for a decade. It takes a lot to troll me effectively or get under my skin. Oh my goodness. Just tell him the number. Yeah, you could change the contents to whatever you want. I mean, if you don't like what generated in it, you can delete any individual item one at a time, right? By the way, I generated this without walls. Our room generation, you could generate it with walls and with floors. I just like the cave floor, so I did that, right? So let's make this a laboratory again, right? I'm going to generate it with this shape. So now it's like, you know, a totally different room. I could regen it a few times if I'm not happy with what's in it. I could go to the object panel and grab any object I want and put it in it. Maybe I want some barrels in the corner, or a treasure chest, whatever, a Stargate. What's up, Rooks? What did you need to Google? You can do futuristic maps, but it's not a stock feature right now. You would have to download assets from the workshop. Sorry, I missed your message earlier. So we have assets on our Steam Workshop repository that fit into the sci-fi aesthetic, and many creators in our community are diving in and making maps doing just that. But none of the assets from the workshop are supported with our procedural generation or like our object brushes, so it's all done by hand. It takes a little bit more work to do. But let me just show you a few sci-fi maps. Just to give you an example. Like this sci-fi mining operation was one that was shared just recently. Beautiful map. There are Fallout-themed maps. I've seen Walking Dead and like sci-fi and cyberpunk. Because the ability to import 3D models and share them on the workshop is available to our community, it expands your functionality and aesthetic far beyond our kind of stock fantasy theme. Mick over on Steam asks, wait, but does everyone need the game if you try to run it for D&D? So Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility and an immersion tool. It's not a virtual tabletop. It's not really meant to run your games through. So you would make a map in Dungeon Alchemist, and then the map would export to your preferred platform. So if you play online, for instance, you probably use a virtual tabletop like Foundry or Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. They're like one of the more popular systems that people integrate their maps with and then play online because it facilitates all the roles, the rules, character sheets, stuff like that. So Dungeon Alchemist, while it is very immersive and you can take screenshots and video and walk around in first person and do all sorts of stuff, its primary purpose is to make a map and better immerse your players into it. No, you're fine. I get it. It's your username. You can do whatever you want. I just got to be careful is what I say. So I don't, you feel me, right? You get it. So here is a map that's like a sci-fi aesthetic. Let me set it to like nighttime or maybe give it that Martian atmosphere feel, I love doing light filters because it definitely makes something feel more alien right away. But we have this massive mining operation, and this is a combination of a stock biome mixed with third-party assets from the workshop. So it's entirely possible to build stuff in different aesthetics. Zep, I'm glad to, have you as a member of our community now. Seriously, welcome to the damn nation, my friend. Sorry if we're dropping some frames here. This is a big map. But I encourage y'all to go on the workshop and look at some of these things. I mean, there's great sci-fi maps. This one here is like almost looks like a Warhammer 40K ship, like a starship. Here's another starship, the Void Star, a dwarf-manufactured spaceship. So, Creative Cauldron, which VTT do you use by chance? Are you using a virtual tabletop? Or when you export our maps as an animated export, it actually is a 30-second loop by default. The only thing that has trouble looping in those would be like particle effects that you can add. We have like, different effects you can add like smoke and fog and fire. And those particle effects don't perfectly loop yet. But our flames, our animated assets like windmills, drills, stuff like that, they'll loop on a perfect 30 seconds. Every one of them has like intervals that loop perfectly on a 30-second interval. Whether it's a 5-second loop, a 6-second loop, a 10-second loop, they all loop on that interval at 30 seconds perfectly. Core Hall, I mean, as far as virtual tabletops, we offer integration with several of them. I mean, a lot of people in our community use Foundry. Foundry is very versatile. It's a one-time fee for a lifetime license, so it's a great tool. Fantasy Grounds is also great. They offer a lifetime license. Roll20 is a simple-to-use tool with a very, easy-to-use interface, but it's monthly. Their basic plan, the free plan, doesn't work with our like line of sight, walls, windows, doors, and that's because they don't give you access to scripts or modules unless you're a pro member, and that's how we facilitate that, is through a Roll20 script. A hotkey to do over the grid is Alt-G. So if you're using FGU, yeah, with an animated map, you would just export. For Fantasy Grounds, set it to the WebM export. By the way, WebM VP8 is a little bit older codec. That's the only animated map codec they offer support for with Fantasy Grounds. So it takes a little bit while longer to encode that 30 seconds because you're essentially rendering a video of a real-time 3D environment and all its animation and lighting frame by frame. So depending on the size of the map, it can take a few minutes. I also would like to add to this, all virtual tabletop exports. This is a pro tip. Trust me on this. Export your maps at 72 DPI. The reason you do this, because higher DPI means larger file size. So this means 72 by 72 dots per inch. If you upgrade to 150 or 300, that's 300 by 300 dots per inch. That makes the file size 6 times larger than the 72 DPI. Okay? Boundary, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, they recommend using 60 to 92 DPI for your map imports and video imports because it keeps the file sizes smaller, allows load times to be small and quick. Most of your players should load them with relative ease. So keep your DPI low unless you're playing in person on like a TV tabletop or you're printing your maps. Because online play, it's going to make the map massive and have problems. Like I think Fantasy Grounds, their max file size is like 80 megabytes, something like that, and they have resolution limits as well. So additionally, if you want to adjust your overlay more, if you go into File Settings here, ZEP, go to Grid. You can change the color of your grid. You can change the transparency to make it more prevalent, and you can change it between square and hex. The hex can be adjusted in size too, by the way. So you can make it larger or smaller, but the square is just a set size. And then there is a hotkey for the grid, which is Alt-G. But we have a wiki, and you can check out our wiki, and there's all sorts of information, including the hotkeys on there. Definitely check it out. Great resource when we're offline. Are there plans to integrate futuristic themes to vanilla game and procedural generation? Yes, but after we leave early access, Mick. So once our plan right now, our roadmap, is to deliver on all of our promises and stretch goals from our Kickstarter program, which is how we kicked off Dungeon Alchemist. We got all our funding and initial interest in Dungeon Alchemist as a Kickstarter. Then we released as early access on Steam, self-published. We have since then released a number of stretch goal updates as part of our roadmap. Our next update is called Fun with Objects, launching Q1 2025, so the first 4 months of 2025. And then we release an update like every 6 to 8 months typically with regularity. Once we have delivered on our final 5 stretch goals and leave early access, our devs have said they'd like to go above and beyond any of our development promises to offer optional expansions. And how that would work, what it's been told to me at least, is imagine like a sci-fi expansion that's an optional paid expansion, say like $20. And that would include thousands of sci-fi themed objects, a couple dozen environmental biomes, probably 50 to 100 room types, and that all works within the Dungeon Alchemist architecture. So it just adds on to what you already have. Think of like expansions on old video games where it was completely optional. It would not detract from the original product, and the original product is not, you don't need the expansion ever to run the original product or do the core fantasy aesthetic. You just can dive into it if you want to. So Mick, I hope that answers your question. In practical terms, the average map in Dungeon Alchemist is like 10 megabytes or less. Because we use our own proprietary file format and all of our stock assets are very, very fine-tuned and small. We use a lot of smoke and mirrors on our stock assets, but when you start adding assets from the workshop or art, third-party art into your designs, the size of the map goes up exponentially. So, just to give you an idea, like a brand new map that is, say, 40 by 40, right? Let's do a cave map so we can generate like a cave system inside so you can see what it looks like. We'll do a river. We'll have that river. We'll change it to lava after we generate it. Hey, Stratus, thank you for being here. We'll talk to you later. But because we use all stock assets in our design and generation, the average map, as long as it's like a 50 by 50 or smaller, is only like 10 megabytes or less. So here, I'm going to just file, save as this brand new stock map, right? We're going to save it on the desktop. Cave test, right? I'm going to find that file. That is 40 by 40. It's 2.5 megabytes. But it's because of how Dungeon Alchemist operates, okay? The file is small because none of the 3D file data is stored in it. It's all run internally through our proprietary 3D render engine. So when you're running this map, it all renders in real time. The lighting, the shadows, the objects, the environment. The more you add to it, more lights, more objects, more detail, the larger that file becomes. But many of the objects, like this rock, for instance, this is a really simple shape, like a rectangle that's vertical, and then we added like a beautiful texture map to it to make it like a wallpaper on top of it to make it look much more detailed. Another great example are things like chests. These are most likely just very simple rectangle shapes with beautiful texture mapping on it, and that's what keeps the file sizes small. Did that answer your questions across the board there, everyone? I think I actually need to wrap up the stream, so if we have any more questions before we take off tonight, let me know. So when you export as an image, the size of the image, I mean, it's a JPEG or a video, that's definitely going to be much larger than our stock map. So let's export this same map, right? Okay. We'll do it for Fantasy Grounds. We'll export it as an image, just to show you, right? And I'm going to do it at 72 DPI, which is what I recommend for virtual tabletops. You could set your border here. You could do a large border, so there's a big bounding box around it. Small border or no border, so it's just trim. That also decreases the file size. You could also export it with a grid, but since you're working with Fantasy Grounds or a virtual tabletop, do not export with a grid if you have a virtual tabletop you plan to use, because their internal grid tools are fantastic, much more immersive, and all you need to do is set them at 5 feet and they work right away. Okay, so I'm going to export this as an image really quick. We'll just save it to the desktop, and then we'll start up exporting the video as well, because that will take a little bit longer. So we're going to do a WebM and export that. Because it's a video and it has to do many different frames, frame by frame, that real-time 3D rendered environment, it'll take about a minute to render the 30 seconds. While we're waiting for that, though, here is the image, right, that we just exported. It's actually quite small, only 989 kilobytes for the image at 72 DPI. The video will be much larger, though. It's going to take about a minute to render it. That VP8 codec is just so slow. It's like 8 years old at this point, so it takes a little bit of time to render. In Foundry, you have access to the VP9 codec, which is much faster. It's like night and day, and it's much smaller. It's a one-time purchase, Creative Cauldron Studio, for a lifetime license that gets you all future quality of life improvements and, you know, like hot fixes and major updates on our roadmap until we leave early access. After we left early access, that means we've delivered on all of our stretch goals from our Kickstarter. At which point, we then plan to continue offering updates and feature updates and improvements to DA for free. But we also plan to offer optional expansions that go beyond the fantasy aesthetic, which is our stock core promise. So imagine things like sci-fi or cyberpunk or, maybe modern or futuristic, stuff like that. Things that aren't included now in our base stuff. So we would expand it by, say, including several thousand objects of that aesthetic, a bunch of room types, a bunch of environmental biomes, and then that would all work within our procedural generation and our tool sets to make it speedy to generate those themes in Dungeon Alchemist. So it's essentially an expansion for Dungeon Alchemist that is completely 100% optional. Really? I've not heard of that, Braun. Where are you seeing that? Can you share me a link for that or something? So, external maps are saying it's hard to use outdoor maps to export Foundry VTT. I mean, if it's a massive map, I could see it being a problem, but that's more of a Foundry problem than a Dungeon Alchemist problem, because we can make the map massive in DA, but Foundry has upper file size limits and resolution limits. So essentially, if you hit those limits, that could be a limiter, like a problem. And if it's an external outside map that's like all environment, I could see that happening pretty quick. So can you tell me, do you know more information about the size of that map or where this was at? Was it in the Reddit like the Foundry subreddit? I'd love to take a look and see if I can offer assistance. Is it an older post? Is it new? Oh, I see this post here. So this is a person's personal preference here. And then yet again, bigger maps be more demanding on your PC. That's pretty obvious. So let me just give you an example. And I can tell what some of these people are struggling with right off the bat from reading it. And we were discussing this a few minutes ago. When you export a map in Dungeon Alchemist, you have a lot of export settings. And Foundry, we'll look at that in just a second if I could do it. I'm in the middle of exporting right now, or I'd show you. Foundry, there is several options. There's animated and still maps, okay? There is image quality, so DPI, right? And also you need to take into account the size of the map initially. I have very easily done 100 by 100 maps in Foundry without issue at 72 DPI while the map is animated. Worked just fine. That's my personal experience. Never really had an issue with it. But if I start cranking the DPI from 72 up to, say, 150 or 300, those are print resolutions or digital file resolutions for TV tabletops for like localized play. Not really optimal for online play. Not only does it increase the file size each time you do that, but the resolution goes up exponentially. So 72 DPI versus 150 to 300 DPI, sure, they're higher quality, they'll look a little bit more crisp, but those are meant for print, not meant for online play. Foundry, for instance, recommends using 60 to 90 DPI as like a standard kind of baseline for maps and video. I'll show you a big map in a minute. We'll load it into Foundry and you can make the judge. You could judge for yourself. This export is taken forever though because WebM VP8 is just a joke. It is a very bad codec and unfortunately we're kind of limited to using it that way. Once this finishes though, I'll show you like a 60 by 60 mine I've made. No problem. fact, I'll probably get Foundry loading up right now on the side. Hopefully I don't need to update. I haven't loaded it in a minute. Yeah, I see it. I'm looking at it right now. I will say the vast majority of the posts in there are positive, though. And that's good to see. But I will tell you this, just straight up honesty, Braun. Map size that you can make is a direct correlation of PC specs. So the more powerful your computer, the larger of a map you can make and export with relative ease. So if someone is saying, oh, I can't make big maps, that's pretty telling of their machine specs and almost immediately. Like I mean, I can make maps up to 100 by 100. I can open maps up to 250 by like 250 without a problem. Here is a map I made myself that is an animated, well, it's a still map that I put tiles on. So like a drill. And this is a 60 by 60 map. It loads just fine. And I have an animated version and a still version of this same map. This is just a quick example. But I kind of know all the best export settings, and I also understand how Dungeon Alchemist works inside and out. So no excuses there by any means. I'm just hoping you understand what I'm getting at. Okay. Cave test, just finished. Okay, so that WebM file, 23.8 megabytes. Not that big. That should load in Foundry, no problem. It just takes forever to render because it's like frame by frame by frame. Oh, of course. Here, Braun, let me show you a massive outdoor map. You can do inside of caves, you can do outside. Here, let me show you a map I saw earlier today that'll blow your mind, actually. I think I might even have it in my subscribed maps. Any of you familiar with Faerun? This is a world map of Faerun, made entirely in Dungeon Alchemist. The only trick they did to make it is using forced perspective. It is a big map. It's over 250 by 250, so it will take a minute to load. If you ever get this little circle or Windows says, hey, wait or close, just click wait. Big maps take a while, and depending on your specs, it may take longer. Yeah, we got the whole Sword Coast. Hey, see you later, Sassy. Have a good night. Creative Cauldron. You know what? If you want to DM me on Discord and we can look over your stats and your socials and stuff and see if you qualify for a creator key, okay? No, not at all. That 60 by 60 map, I played on it several times, like at least 12 hours worth of play. The thing about loading a map for players in Foundry is all about the export settings. You want to keep the map as small as possible. So when you're playing online, you have a lot of variables, right? You may have a player with bad internet or a potato computer. It may not even be a bad computer, just an old computer or a basic computer, right? Then you have Foundry's limitations. And then also, you have all the stuff you can make within DA. So there's all this crossover of issues you may run into. So the size of a map you could make in DA successfully with your machine, the size you can export successfully and run in Foundry, and then the map that plays successfully for your players. One thing I've done over time that I've learned to do is every map I make and export for a virtual tabletop, especially if I'm doing like an animated map, I will export the map as an animated and a still, and I'll create two scenes. Still and animated. So I have the animated as my main, and the still is a backup, just in case that big map doesn't load for one of my players. Could be just a day, that one day thing, their internet's having problems. It could have been quite literally just, just that map. Now, at the end of the day, a map can be broken into smaller maps. So if you make a big map and your players are having problems loading it, you can always cut it into smaller pieces. This is a big map, though. I'm not even going to mince it. This thing is massive. Probably one of the biggest maps on the Steam Workshop. Here, let me close Foundry so I don't have something else loaded in the background. I might have even crashed DA. But I was just trying to show you some of the biggest things that are out there, and this is one of them. There are maps that are 100 by 100, 150 by 150. I've seen them load in virtual tabletops, but you do need to trim the map down to 72 DPI or split it into sections. But this is quite literally the entirety of Faerun made in Dungeon Alchemist. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing here. I'm going to go into overlay mode. So that's like the Sword Coast. I'm pretty sure this is Waterdeep, maybe? Or maybe that's Waterdeep? One of those are Waterdeep. One of these towns on the coast. But it's essentially a combination of forced perspective and resizing assets to fit their needs. The massive map. This thing is gargantuan. Now, using forced perspective, scaling down like buildings to make them small, it looks like a city. This is not necessarily a great example of a city map, more of like a regional or a world map. Let me show you something that looks like a city. One of the more impressive city maps I've seen made and shared by our community. Showed it earlier, but I'll show it again. That up. This will be the last map of the stream. After this, I gotta wrap it up and go eat dinner. I'm hungry. $4.29's up, dang. Nope. Braun, in fact, we don't have any expansions or art packs. All of our pretty much updates for the foreseeable future will be free and included with your purchase. It's a one-time purchase for a lifetime license. And you get access to Steam Workshop integration where users share maps. 9,800 free maps and counting. Earlier it was like 9,805 and now it's 9,822. And there's a repository of 3D models. So you have the stock 3D models. There's like 6,500 assets, and that jumps up with every update, like 400 or 500 more assets. And then you have the ability to import and share assets on the Steam Workshop, or just import them and use them locally. So our community has added tons and tons of options from different aesthetics, you know, sci-fi, modern, you know, different themes, different regions. So you can really expand your database of models and build all sorts of stuff. We have an asset importer built right in. So if you have the ability to create 3D models or source them online, or maybe you've supported a 3D modeler or a Patreon or like a Humble Bundle or something and have a bunch of 3D models, you can import them to use for local and just put them in your maps. But this is a beautiful city map. You can also, I mean, a lot of the models that are on the Steam Workshop would be 3D models, right? But there are tokens and stuff like that. But if you're looking for top-down, like 2D stuff, that's totally possible to do in DA2. But like, for instance, people share tokens all the time here. There's a big repository of almost 500 tokens now. But you can actually import like images into DA, custom images. You see these right here, it says abstract. There's these little green things. Like this here, you can place that down and you can insert images into there. So that could be a token tile. So you could just do like a, you know, a regular, like the little top-down 2D tokens if you wanted to, or images or maps or any art you really wanted to use in that instance. Here's a little, there's a magic circle I just loaded into it, but you get the idea. You can load whatever you want into it. These floors, that is actually an abstract image. That's a custom floor tile that someone imported there to get that like look of cobble there. So you can do, you know, a square plane. You can, these are really valuable tools for inserting custom art that you may have gotten in art packs, token packs, etc. So you can insert 2D art or 3D art directly into DA. Hey, see you later, Zep. But for instance, Forgotten Adventures, I don't know if you've been there. It's like a big repository of it's like a big gallery of assets, right? For Dungeon Draft. But I mean, these also will work in DA because you can insert 2D images into Dungeon Alchemist without issues. Yep. So you can insert 2D images, 3D assets. You have tons of different biomes, but just kind of zooming out, Braun, look at this thing. This thing is massive. This is a huge city with a port and a castle all tied to it. Beautiful example of a city build, all done entirely within Dungeon Alchemist. It's a 70 by 90 map, so kind of large, but if exported at 72 DPI, should work just fine in Foundry. And this is on the workshop, so you could download this if you owned a copy of DA. By the way, Braun, I want to let you know, if you're curious of DA, you can try our demo. There's a free demo on Steam right now. I encourage you to go download it and try it out, see how it runs on your system. It's limited to the forest biome, but you can at least try it out, see how it runs. And we're on sale right now for 20% off through the 23rd. So there's never been a better time to snatch up a copy if you're on the fence and kind of curious. But definitely try out the demo, give it a look. We offer several streams throughout the week. You can pop in and say hello. I'm going to be streaming a lot throughout this week because of the sale. So if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, anything you want to know, feel free and I will be glad to assist you. And lastly, you can drop into our Discord, our official Discord, or our wiki if you have any more questions when we're, offline or whatever. Thank you everyone for hanging out today. I had a tremendous blast being here with you, sharing Dungeon Alchemist, discussing the sale and showing all the things you can do in Dungeon Alchemist. Sorry for the infomercial for the last 2 hours. I hope you enjoyed the stream and got all your questions and concerns addressed. Again, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. This is the official Dungeon Alchemist channel. Wherever you're watching us right now, this is the official Dungeon Alchemist channel. If you have any questions related to DA, make sure you drop in our Discord or our Steam forum. Drop a question and we'll do our best to address them in a timely manner. Thank you everyone for being here. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time. I give a damn. Back out. Bye. Nice to meet you all. Hey, we'll run a little ad before we wrap up, and that'll be the end of the stream, okay? Hope you like this ad. I actually wrote the script for this. Really proud of it.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before...
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.